Yes, thank you very much indeed to Adrian and Brian. So that's the situation in Group F after one series of matches, and it's Mexico and Sweden who have taken the initiative in the group. Korea, Republic and Germany yet to get off the mark, but the complexion of that group is likely to change. The Korea Republic next face Mexico, I should say, and then Germany take on Sweden. What a big game that is, particularly for Germany, and a sort of fixture that Sweden can now comfortably go and look for a draw, because that would keep them on course to qualify for the knockout phase. Has that been achieved in the second half as a result of that penalty award? And Damien, we've got to get straight into the incident for starters. Now, the referee was very close when the incident took place. He seemed to make a decision there and then that he didn't think it was a penalty, possibly thinking that the defender got a touch on the ball, but then obviously a review was recommended. So let's have a look at the incident for starters.
Yeah, I can't believe he turned it down in the first place. Looking here from the main angle, sitting at home, we all agreed it was a penalty. The referee's in a great position to see it was a penalty, and Brian made a good point during the game that I think referees now are happy to maybe take a back seat and let VAR make the decision, and he just waits for the call here. Yeah. Because it's a blatant penalty from every angle for me. So listen, my complaint about it always takes too long. We'll show again after about a neutral position. That's not a neutral position to me. That's a very dangerous position, especially if I'm an attacking Korean player. But listen, I think we're all agreed, Michael Louise, it's a penalty, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a very rash challenge, and we'll see it in a little while. One thing I don't understand is what, in terms of where the penalty happens here, the incident happens rather, the assistant referee and the referee could not be in a better position. He's got a clear view of it, he's got no one in front of him. The assistant was on that side, is looking straight across at it as well, and neither feel ready to make the decision.
I feel the defender there, he also just needed to stand his ground. You know, Klaassen wasn't going anywhere really, so just to stand up when he, you know, dove in unnecessarily, and then, you know, Klaassen just got that little touch to take it away from him, and, you know, it's defined the game.
Yeah, we're having the benefit of those super slow-mo pictures where we can see the attacker getting a touch on the ball and the defender not getting a touch on the ball. But the referee was behind the Swedish player, and it would have been very easy in real time, Michael, surely it would have been very easy for him to think, actually it's the defender who's got the touch. So that's why, because he seems to be convinced, everything he signalled suggested no, he felt the defender got a touch.
Yeah, well, he is, I'd accept that to an extent, but his assistant is can see clearly who has got the touch on that side, and that's where there's obviously, you know, they're in communication with each other with the headsets as well. That's where I don't think if we see it here, look where the far side official is as well. There's the referee's view, the far side official as well can see it. The reaction of the Swedish players, and then, as I say, let's see what happens now. Why does he not blow now? Why is this not neutral enough?
That's a neutral position.
Yeah. He has signalled that it's being reviewed. That's his hand goes to his earpiece, which suggests there's a review. Yeah. To let people know.
So he's let play go on further. We're now at 15, close to 20, and at 20 seconds he decides to blow up. And I think, given the incident, I don't understand why he doesn't give the penalty and then get it confirmed.
Well, that's a very good
VAR,
suggestion.
Rather than let the play go 20 seconds and bring it back and then look at the incident. But
because, I mean, the issue that doesn't appear to be covered here, Louise, is what would happen if Korea, if they had another 5 seconds, for instance, the review wasn't complete, VAR hadn't decided whether it was a foul or not, Korea went and scored. There doesn't appear to be a clear ruling on it. Now, maybe there is.
Yeah, you know, and I think we, you know, have maybe come to understanding that, you know, if South Korea had gone on to score, that's it. They can't, you know, take that goal away from them, because as we can see, the penalty is the correct decision, but it's got to be decided a lot earlier. And if you...
Do you think 20 seconds was too long?
Definitely, yeah. You know, they were on the attack, they're on the break, you know, and that's even what the South Koreans were looking to do. That's what they were, you know, what they think they're good at. So there could have been a possibility to score from there. And, you know, so it's a disappointing one. And I think even looking at, you know, Sweden as well, they took too much time as well to kind of have a go at the ref, even make up his mind and, you know, make a little professional foul just there on the halfway line, and then, you know, start you complaining. Because if South Korea had gone on to score, you are going to look at some of those players there and say, well, why were you just giving out to the ref? Keep playing until he blows the whistle.
It's taken 20 seconds to go to VAR. That's not even the decision before he's decided to go to VAR. So whether it's taken them, the people in the control room, 20 seconds to get to that point to tell him to review it.
Well, knowing the technical side of this thing, because we have similar technology here in television, you would have that within 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
There's no way it was taking them 20 seconds to review that incident close up and in super slow-mo. So the process was too slow. And Damien, I think this is one of your huge concerns about VAR, is it?
Yeah, it's the time. Well, listen, we're always picking the bones out of it, and now obviously the new jargon we're using is when it's in a neutral position.
Yeah.
Like Michael said, this is a neutral position now because there's no advantage. Sweden can get them at any time. They've got a 2v1, a 3v1. It's when they slip the ball inside. And, you know, I can compare this to, say, the first half. Viewers that saw the first half when Son broke from 60 metres away from the opponent's goal. That was never a neutral position, so the referee would never have got a chance to call that one back because it was always a dangerous position. But like I said there, they've an overload. That isn't neutral. So, again, what does FIFA mean by neutral position? What isn't a neutral position? Does it have to be a 1v1 on goal to say, no, I'm not calling this? That's a very, very, very dangerous position for me if I'm an attacking player. So that's the haziness, I guess, again. Just being quicker as well.
There is a lot of uncertainty because VAR can only recommend a review. They can't initiate a review. So I'm sure as soon as that foul occurred, surely VAR were saying, we recommend a review. Now, maybe as the referee took off down pitch, we recommend or strongly recommend a review. You know, we've viewed the situation. It's a serious error. But we don't know what communication has taken place.
Let's say as well that it was right, it was correct, so it's worked. It has worked because it was a penalty.
That's what FIFA will say.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's the other side we're obviously arguing about now, but it has worked.
Yeah.
But it's obviously the other side of it.
So can FIFA justifiably say this has worked because ultimately the outcome was the correct one?
Yeah, I think they can in that sense, and obviously it's it's the decider in the game. It's what ultimately decides the result. So from that point of view, yes. You know, if you think back without VAR, that would have been a decision. You say, oh, we should have had a penalty, we didn't get it.
Yes, yeah.
South Korea might have had a point out of the game, and that was all part of the game, and we accepted it. We discussed it and we argued about it. We now have a situation where now arguing about how long it takes to actually make the decision now, given that the use of technology. But I just think in this instance, you know, the referee should have gone to VAR a lot sooner than what he had done, and I think it would be a more conclusive decision then, I think, at that point in time, to let the play go to the far end of the field and then stop it where he did.
I suppose one of the other issues is, Louise, that the vast majority of referees at this World Cup don't come from leagues which have been operating VAR, because it has only been used on an experimental basis in other leagues like the Bundesliga, but not in a lot of the other countries. So for the referees, we have to sort of cut them a bit of slack here. This is a learning process.
Yeah, absolutely. They haven't had that time, but I suppose a referee, they've always got to have a cool head and a calm head. So this is something where they need to think quickly and react quickly, and that's it. And I think, as Brian was saying on the commentary, are they just relying on it too much now at the moment as well, being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't?
The other thing possibly is there a communication problem. Is, for argument, the nationality of the referee same as the nationality of the people in the control room and the VAR. You would imagine they have a set, words that they've, FIFA have said, look, this is where you're going to have to go, whether it's review. But, as I say...
Even me and you were having problems understanding each
other. We were having a discussion about it and there was a communication problem.
Actually, Louise, I was interested to see your reaction there when I said we got to cut the referees some slack. You grimaced, which I suppose is a player's natural reaction. But Damien, thinking of the referees, and we were just discussing this before the programme this morning, they have a lot to think about, in fairness. The rules are complicated enough in terms of just the game in general, the laws of the game, and now they've got all these VAR rules and regulations to think about, and there are a lot of them in it. I don't need to show this on every programme that we're doing, but it's a lot of stuff, and we're just about getting through at this stage. But the referees have a lot to think about, and split-second decisions.
Yeah, listen, we're always quick, I guess, to blame the referees, but it's FIFA at the end of the day. I think about 90 seconds ago you called it a learning process. But this is the biggest sporting tournament ever. Yeah. So you don't just throw something in and it's going to be a learning process. Listen, it has worked, but I still said, like 2-3 months ago, I've mentioned before, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, it was a shambles. It does look a lot slicker now, but if it wasn't quite ready, you don't just throw it in here. It's the World Cup, And I do feel sorry for the referees because they haven't had a lot of time with it. It's like practicing penalties, before a cup tie when you're a player, and there's nothing that beats doing the real thing. So this is the first time they've done it under pressure, not, you know, at a training ground somewhere. So I do feel slightly sorry for them, but at the end of the day, it's FIFA's head, really, not theirs.
Yeah, and if we take VAR out of the equation completely, and it's a comment I've heard from many of our pundits so far at this World Cup, Louise, and you said it earlier on, that the officiating has been very good at this World Cup in general.
I think it has actually been quite consistent as well, and I think they have made, you know, brave decisions. And you know, to me at the moment, like I think it's been the least talk about the referees there's been in a while. You know, I think at maybe the start of the last World Cup, it was all about the referees and the decisions made. And, you know, so I think in other ways they definitely are, you know, stepping up to the mark. And as Demi was saying, yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for them, but it's the World Cup, and the same way that the players have got to turn up, the referees as well have got to perform in that way. Yeah,
so possibly, Michael, just to conclude, do you think maybe it's a World Cup too soon for VAR, or did they have to introduce it at some stage?
I think they have to introduce it at some stage, and as you rightly pointed out, the referees a lot of them are refereeing domestically in countries that do not have this and haven't got the experience of this at all. I think that's a challenge then to come into a tournament and deal with it. And I say, for me, you know, I just think it's better to give the decision and have it verified wrong than to what we had there. If he had called the play all the way back then and then gone, it's no penalty. If you were South Korea, you'd have been a bit aggrieved at that point in time. Yes. So he needs to give it quicker, and then if VAR overrules his decision of a penalty, South Korea will be a lot happier than that, than obviously the alternative outcome. So I think it's just that's something that possibly, particularly the referees that come from the smaller leagues, are maybe going to have to get used to. Yeah, it is tough on the referees. But on this occasion, and I think FIFA will point this out well, the correct decision was arrived at. Ultimately, the penalty award and the successful penalty conversion decided the match. But we're going to have a look at, I mean, I think overall a fair result overall, because Sweden were the more proactive of the two sides. They sought out chances. Korea, yeah, they did. We see some of their chances here in the second half. Forsberg comes in, should do better off his right hand side. He was a bit of a disappointment. You know, he didn't live up to the billing. Goalkeeper makes a decent reaction save here, but he's a bit lucky. It's palmed into a good area, and his defenders help him out here, get it away. But the game, you know, let's be honest, South Korea were a massive disappointment. I obviously convinced Damien that they were a good team before the game, and he believed it.
You convinced us all, man.
I'm not going to say anything about Panama in the next game at all. So, yeah, they were extremely poor. And Brian made a very relevant point. The two best players played in a system that didn't maximise their input in the game. Key played 4-1-4-1. Key played in front of his two centre-backs, had no creative influence in the game, and Son played off the left-hand side. And it was only, you know, latter stages of the game, final 10 minutes, we saw a little bit more of him. We saw situations where he got 1v1 in the box. And, you know, I think when the coach reflects on it, I think he'll probably look and think tactically he chose the wrong system for the game that it was.
Yeah, and maybe we can understand now why he does refer to himself as the Asian special one. But anyway, moving swiftly along to the chances they did create in the second half. They had a couple of good opportunities to score, Damien.
Yeah, not bad, but listen, Peter, they only started on 70, 75 minutes. You know, why leave it so late? You know, negative for most of the game, and then they obviously had to just come out and try and play then, obviously trying to get a goal. But listen, Sweden, as you'd expect, they stayed compact, so it was hard to get any clear-cut chances. This is the Sweden we know. Obviously sit back and hang on to the 1-0 win. But listen, Sweden deserved the win, without a doubt. Korea, they huffed, they puffed. OK chances, but not great. Son, one of the few times he gets to stand something up, I think it's fencing there, and nothing comes of it. So too little, too late. You know, Pitcher, the manager there, they were saying Son has to go for his military service. So I'd send him off because of his tactics. Seriously, just so negative. This comes around every 4 years. They've got here, you know, massive tournament, and just to set his team up like that today was disappointing. Yeah, to not take full advantage of the talents at his disposal, certainly unforgivable for South Korea. But they lose, and Sweden get the 3 points, and it's a very good start for them.